way that God can spare you and remain a just God is for you to come to Christ and let Jesus Christ come into your heart and forgive your sins. That's the only way God can do it. Sure, you have religion, but that's not going to save you. You are saved by Jesus Christ, by the blood that was shed on the cross, by His resurrection.
This is a comedy show, sir. Unfortunately, he hasn't been selling his tickets properly at the venue he wanted to sell them in, and that's why he is here. My dear friend, we are dealing with very important things here. We are dealing with a seriously flawed religion called Islam. Hijrah, is this not the time after the time of Muhammad?
Can you talk about the Bible? Forget about the history.
12 years, 70 years,
We are not talking
Muhammad's
about that.
death
Plus
plus
he's dead.
58
Jesus was
years.
dead, man.
Not some silly jokes.
Are you again?
You see what the problem is?
Again.
Talk about
No,
material.
You know what to say.
Well, I tried doing that before. Didn't hear anything useful. Excuse me, sir. The gentleman wants to hear if you have anything useful to say. Have you got?
Wait, man.
Let's give him 2 minutes. Let's try and see if he has anything useful to say.
He said, come in. He called me. He said, are you a Muslim? Can you debate with me? And he is afraid, man. He never give me a chance. That's why. Look at he's laughing. He's a laughing man.
My dear friend, it's all on record. It's all on record. The number of times the question was asked to you is all on record.
Can he bring your church? 1 minute, stop. To watch it.
This is a comedy show, sir. Unfortunately, he hasn't been selling his tickets properly at the venue he wanted to sell them in, and that's why he is here. My dear friend, we are dealing with very important things here. We are dealing with a seriously flawed religion called Islam, and that is where our focus is today. And my point to you is simply this.
Brother, I have got a Bible in here.
30 archaeological artifacts,
I have got a Bible.
epigraphics, writings, Arabic engravings, writings that we find in Saudi Arabia. And the problem is, for about 70 years after supposed Muhammad's Hijrah, there is no reference to a person called Prophet Muhammad. Neither is there a reference to a caliph, a successor to Muhammad. In other words, Islam did not exist for about 70 years after the time of what is known as Hijrah. Now, of course, this information could be assimilated and be used by only sensible people, people who have got still their brains intact, which hasn't been washed by your religion, what we call brain washing, and who are able to intelligently process information. Now, I tried asking the gentleman a question a few minutes ago, and for a while...
I answered your question.
What was the question, sir?
My question is...
What was my question, sir?
You're asking...
What was my question, sir?
You're asking me about the Muhammad before the Islam.
Before Islam, can you believe?
No, of course.
I asked about Muhammad before Islam. Before what?
No, before the Hijrah, you said, innit?
Before?
You said before the
I
Hijrah.
thought you were planning to listen, sir.
Come on.
Muhammad,
It was recorded.
when did Hijrah happen,
I
sir?
recorded.
Excuse me, sir.
recorded.
Well,
Can
when
I-
did
no,
Hijrah happen?
No, don't twist it. Don't.
When
make
did
a
Hijrah
lot.
happen?
Can I speak?
All right.
Can I
Now
speak?
the gentleman didn't
Can I
understand.
speak?
Let me clarify.
Can I
A
speak?
significant event
that. He's
in the
lying,
life of
man.
who he calls a prophet, Muhammad,
Can
is what
you
is
show
called
me? Can you
Hijrah.
show me
Hijrah.
where is Jesus?
Muslims have heard this term.
Where is Jesus?
Hijrah happened about 10 to 12 years before Muhammad passed away, according to Muslims.
When Jesus was passed away.
According to the
When?
fairy tales
When did he pass
that
away?
Muslims invented, Hijrah happened about 12 years before the death of Muhammad. My question is, for about 70 years after Hijrah, for about
We are
70
talking
years.
about the book. He's
Now,
running away his
my
Bible.
dear friend, if
He's-
Muhammad
he's running away
died
his Bible.
about 12
We are
years
not talking
after
about the
Hijrah,
story, man.
but if I am talking about even the period going up to 70 years after
Can you talk
Hijrah,
about the Bible?
is this not the
Can you
time
talk about
after
the
the time
Bible?
of after the time of Muhammad?
Can you talk about the Bible? Forget about the history.
12 years,
Muhammad, what he's
70
born,
years,
he's doing. We are not talking
Muhammad's
about that.
death
Of course,
plus
he's dead.
58
Jesus was
years
dead, man.
for
And
about
you will die, man, one time.
for
What you talking
about 58 years after
Yes.
the death
You know what
of
happened?
Muhammad.
He was preaching.
No one
preaching
in
God
Arabia
for the promised
can
land.
this
And
person
he was-
called
you know what's
Muhammad, according to archaeological artifacts.
Talk about the Jesus.
Not significant
Forget
at all.
about the
Yes, sir.
Muhammad. You don't believe Muhammad in it. You don't believe Muhammad.
The evidence,
Do you believe Muhammad?
Archaeological findings. It's not even
What's
archaeological.
that?
Because if something is archaeological, you have to dig and find it.
Yes.
yes, I am here.
There are written scripts, right? According to Islamic.
The Islamic calendar. Do you know what this time
You know, after that, Abu Bakr comes, right? And then after
Because
that,
you
Please
don't
come
know. You know what happened, brother? You know what happened? He went to debate with me and he ran away. He's
there are
afraid.
writings that these people came.
He's running away, man.
Which writings do you have in mind?
First of all, the historians' records.
Which ones?
I don't know namely, but what you
Forget
say
about the history.
entirely.
Our proof is the Quran,
You're
man.
saying
Our proof is the
entirely
Quran.
refuses all the writings, right?
Exactly.
Which ones that you're referring?
My dear friend, what you need to
say there's no, it doesn't exist.
what you need to appreciate, my dear
The
friend,
history of Jesus.
the ideas of Muhammad today mostly come from documents which post-date Muhammad by about 200 plus years.
Because he didn't know how to read and write.
No, that's not the reason. There might be another reason, and that's precisely what I'm here. Seems like, as you might know, what is a seerah, sir? Do you know? Yeah. When was the first seerah written on Muhammad?
Which seerah you talking about? No, which seerah is he talking about?
640?
No,
No.
which seerah?
No.
Can
Extant.
you hear Arabic? No, which
Extant.
seerah? There is many seerahs.
Extant. Extant.
Read.
Extant.
God reads.
No, I'm not talking about surah. I'm not talking about surah. I'm talking about seerah. The biographies on Muhammad. Biographies of Muhammad. Biographies of Muhammad are documents which came in well later, couple of 100 years after Muhammad. My focus right now is only on artifacts that comes from the first century, and in particular about 70 years after Hijrah. That's where my focus is at the moment.
You know what is comparing?
This is when the real Islamic learnings have been started to.
No Islamic. Which learning do you have in mind? In my knowledge, there is no learning whatsoever.
Have you got any
Hadiths,
Bible? Have you got any
Hadiths-
Bible after,
the
because after
hadiths
Jesus?
come very
No,
late.
You haven't got any Bible.
Seerahs come very late.
No.
Tafsirs even later. There is no
You don't know nothing
Islamic
about that.
source
Come on,
of
come on.
information.
Because theology happens after a religion comes.
Seerah,
Brother,
my
you don't know nothing.
tafsir is theology.
What's the seerah?
Hadith is not theology.
No, what is the seerah?
This has been recorded.
Seerah is not theology.
Meaning seerah.
I am mainly talking about seerah and hadith.
What's the seerah?
I was just pointing out as a side point that
What is the difference,
tafsirs
seerah
come
and
even
hadith?
later
What is
if
the
you have
difference, seerah and
tafsirs in
hadith?
mind. So the point is, we don't have tafsirs, so we don't have seerahs, we don't have hadiths, we don't have those things
We have
at
got the
all.
ha- we have
And
got
that
the
is
hadith,
precisely
we have
where
got the
I'm
seerah.
trying
Have you
to
got-
focus on.
Have you got?
Which seerah have
We
you
have
got?
got the seerah.
Which seerah?
All the seerahs.
one?
We have got lot.
Which one?
We have got
There we
Muslim.
go. Which
We
one?
have got.
Which one?
Do you know what the seerah means?
There we go. Which
No, no,
one do you have in
You know
mind?
what the seerah means?
I know what seerah means.
What's
Which
the
one?
meaning? What's the meaning, seerah?
Which one do
minute,
you have in mind?
No, before
There
you
we go.
ask me.
I'm asking him a
before you
simple
ask
question.
me.
He wouldn't answer. Did
before
he
you
not
ask
say
me,
he has
What's
seerahs?
the meaning, seerah?
Did he not? The gentleman here knows. He said we have seerahs. I'm asking you which
no.
seerahs.
What's the meaning,
He
seerah?
don't answer.
No,
And
no.
there we go.
No,
Now
no.
you're going to sit and.
Anyway.
How do you spell seerah? How
What's
do
the
you
meaning,
write
seerah?
seerah?
What's the meaning, seerah? What's
Can
the
you
meaning,
believe this?
seerah? No.
I don't have to speak Arabic, sir.
Doesn't
Doesn't matter, sir.
Of course it matter. Of course it matter Arabic. Sira is Arabic.
Doesn't matter, sir.
Well, of course it
The
matter.
problem is simple here.
Can you
I thought-
speak Aramaic?
I can
Can you
read.
speak Aramaic? Can you speak Aramaic?
Well, I can't speak Ethiopian also.
Oh, can you
Does
speak,
that
can you speak
matter?
Ethiopian? Can you speak
Does that
Ethiopian?
matter, sir?
Can you speak Ethiopian? I'm from Ethiopia.
If I claim something about
Yes.
Ethiopian,
Can you speak Ethiopian? He said, look at that, he's lying. He said, I'm speaking Ethiopian. Can you speak Ethiopian?
please read this, sir. Please
Yeah,
come over here.
More Christian than Christian.
Please
He
read
said,
this.
he
Language
can
is this
speak
in?
Arabic.
To read, and this is a research article
Jesus spoke
on-
English.
on. Can you please read the 2 lines here?
No.
The lines 2 and 3
What
there,
language
please.
is it?
No, he suggests you don't read
no,
because
what
as
language is
Muslims,
it?
he
What
doesn't
language?
want you to think.
Hello, brother.
But please don't
He's a
conform.
more Christian
Well, he
than
doesn't want
Christian.
Muslims to
He don't
think.
want to
Please
speak
read,
to
sir.
me. He's afraid.
Lines 2 and 3.
He's afraid, man.
I also read who wrote it, right? So
That's fine. So you've read this, yeah?
it gives me an idea what kind of prejudice the author has in this book.
Which prejudice? What do you have in mind?
Because it's
Please
written
come
by-
here.
It's written by
Please come here.
No, I'm okay here. It's written by a Jew, which could have easily prejudices against.
What's your name, sir? Matt? Are you a Muslim, sir?
I don't call myself Muslim. I don't call myself religious.
Okay, you're not religious.
But I
okay.
know I'm
But,
Turkish.
but if I were to ask him what
I
his
am a
name
Muslim. Why are you running away? Look at that. I am a
No.
Muslim.
He's a crazy man.
My dear friend, it doesn't matter what religion a person is of. As
As
long as there is enough evidence for us to believe, research has been
He
done.
don't know even English. He can speak it. What's that?
Can be done by
He can
anyone,
speak the
right?
language of
Any
Jesus.
crazy person in the world
He
can
can
write
speak
such a
it
thing.
Arabic.
When last? No.
Jesus, he never.
Rock inscriptions in Saudi Arabia. How many other research articles have you come across?
I can find. I don't know. I haven't
That's
studied
fine.
this thing.
That's fine. My point to you simply today is this. If you have been a Muslim, if you have been inclined to follow Islam until today, what I'm going to tell you is simply that Islam as a religion only came later on, fabricated for my so to you, my friend, Islam was fabricated in later on in history.
It became a state religion after this. But it started as a religion.
Yes, ma'am.
Say the same about Christianity.
It is the same.
Please come here.
No.
It is the same.
Like what? What
But
can
it's
you
same
say?
about every religion.
Christianity.
It's about every religion. Buddhism, Confucianism, everything.
Propaganda, man.
Passed away. After Jesus passed away. Sorry, after
Mohammed
that was
yoktu.
embraced and they started writing it and all that.
My dear friend, let me put it this way. In Christian theology, the central theme is firstly the person called Jesus Christ. Yeah? Secondly, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. The crucifixion and resurrection, the cross of Christ. Yeah? These are two very central ideas. You can
What you're saying is that the prophets, Prophet Muhammad's proof is not there, and they started writing about the religion like 70 years after he passed away. And I can say the same thing about Jesus.
Please.
Because there is nothing written by Jesus himself.
No, please. I think you misunderstood. I think you misunderstood my point. You won't find Christian literature which ignores Jesus in the first couple of centuries, and then suddenly this Jesus figure showing up.
We're talking about centuries here. We were talking about 50 years.
50 years. Take 50 years. My point is this. You won't find the earliest of the Christian artifacts talk about Jesus. The earliest of Christian artifacts, the earliest of Christian artifacts talk about the cross of Jesus Christ. You with me so far? But what I'm saying is the earliest of artifacts from ignore Mohammed, even though they are religious in their context. I'll read to you an example.
I haven't studied, but I find
but-
it's prejudice because
No. I'm sure. No. Okay. My point isn't about the number of years. My point is about the fact that the earliest of Christian artifacts will have Jesus at the center. Do have Jesus at the center. But the earliest of Islamic artifacts do not have Muhammad at the center. Do not even have Muhammad anywhere, is my point. Do you see what my point is? Let me give you an example, and you would maybe follow this. Please, oops.
Okay, we have Google. If you have one article, we have Google.
Please Google. Very important, please do. So, my point is, I'll give you an example, my dear friend. I'm reading to you an inscription, a building inscription from 58 AH after Hijrah, 58 AH. So 58 years after Hijrah, about 46 years after the death of Muhammad. What is this period? This is the period of supposedly Rashidun Caliphate. The caliphs were in power. That is the period we are talking about. The golden age of Islam. Saudi Arabia, the heartland of Islam. From there, I am reading to you an inscription, building inscription. It says this, please follow me. This dam, this is a public inscription about a dam, and the inscription is a public announcement, proclaiming about the dam, some details. This is what it says. This dam belongs to the servant of God, Muawiyah. If you know Islamic history, this is supposed to be one of the caliphs. This dam belongs to the servant of God, Muawiyah, the commander of the believers. Yeah. So, written by someone significant in Islam. And so what? And of course he references God, because he says servant of God, references God. And so you would like to think he is going to also talk about Muhammad, because that's even part of the Shahada, a very important point in Islam. But see what he says. He says he is the commander of the believers. That's the entire qualification he gives for himself. Now, what were the successors of Muhammad called?
They were caliphs.
Caliphs. Yeah. So the term caliph denotes the idea that these people were successors to not any Tom, Dick and Harry, but a particular person who is held at an esteemed position today, who is the Rasulullah, the seal of all prophets, Muhammad. And so, when you say I am a commander of the army, versus when you say I am the successor to Muhammad, of course the latter title is a far superior title, isn't it? According to Islam. As opposed to just saying I am the successor of this army, to say I am the, as opposed to saying I am the commander of this army, to say I am the successor of Muhammad, you are really giving a very elevated view about yourself to others, aren't you? When you say you are the caliph. But Muawiyah, when he had the opportunity to identify himself or to qualify himself, what does he say? All that he says is, I am the commander of the believers. That's all. No. What's that?
He was the commander of the believers.
Well, of course he was. This is where I was trying to give the example to the gentleman earlier. You know Liz Truss today. Liz Truss is the Prime Minister of our nation today. She is of course also a member of the Parliament. She is of course also the leader of the ruling party, the Tories today. Yeah. But if she were to write an important document, a public proclamation of some sort, how would she identify herself that would capture all the rest of the points?
As the Prime Minister.
As the Prime Minister, wouldn't she? There is no point in she saying, I am the head of the ruling party. Well, of course, that's true also, but that the title the Prime Minister has, yeah? Because the Prime Minister is much more than that. The Prime Minister captures all the rest of the ideas within it, yeah? Now, likewise, if you were to talk about the Caliph was the commander of a particular army of what?
Particular Caliph, I'm not aware of him because my history isn't that good.
Yeah,
But we had Abu Bakr.
Muawiyah, the commander of the believers, and he goes on to say, Abdullah ibn Saka built it with the permission of God in the year 58. O God, forgive the servant of God Muawiyah, the commander of the believers, and make him firm and succor him, and grant the believers enjoyment with it, that is with the dam, through him. Amr ibn Hubab Kabab wrote. This is what it says. Now, if you were to read a significant Islamic inscription, or rather, if you were to read an inscription which is from a significant Muslim leader, from a Muslim heartland, not long after Muhammad was gone, what kinds of titles and references would you expect to find there?
I mean, his first reference should be Caliph,
But even before that,
at that time, they were more into trying to get more and more people to convert to Islam, and they had
No. Saudi Arabia, by the time Muhammad left, was all according to Islamic fantasy ideas. Saudi Arabia, by the time Muhammad left, was all Islamic. Yes, of course. This is the achievement of Muhammad. This is the very achievement of Muhammad. This is where the Rashidun Caliphate comes.
the whole of Saudi Arabia.
All of Saudi Arabia is. Well, of course, it wasn't Saudi Arabia at that time.
Remember, we are the ones who created these boundaries like Saudi Arabia and all.
I know. I'm not talking about the modern day type.
What I'm saying is in Mecca and Medina, yes, you had the two,
My dear friend, I think, no, I hear what you're saying.
and it slowly goes.
I hear what you're saying.
We have created the boundary of Saudi Arabia. I mean,
No,
wherever the
my-
Prophet sent his, whatever, the messages.
My dear friend, I think you've got a wrong idea of the Islamic tradition. The Islamic tradition primarily, especially in the first couple of centuries, primarily is about the caliphate. That is the primary thing, the boundary of what is Islamic land ruled by a caliph. The first one being Muhammad himself. Of course, he's not a follower of himself, but the Islamic heartland ruled by Muhammad himself. This is the first and primary idea. The first and primary idea of Islam. In other words, political boundaries are very much part of early Islam. Now, I don't want to talk about whether it is now or not. I don't want to argue about what jihad is and so on. I believe it is still, but I'm not talking about that now. But my point is, it was a political idea primarily, and therefore, the boundary, my simple point is, hello, hello, please join in. It was a political idea primarily. And so my simple point is, here we are talking about a land ruled by Muslims, successors of Muhammad. That is the key thing. That is the key qualification we are talking about. That is the key claim, as historical claim we are talking about. So, with that as the background, my point is, what we find in archaeology does not measure up to what is today.
On one verse, maybe the guy at that time, he was like commander of army, it was more important to show that.
Exactly my point. My exact point is that. My exact point is, let me repeat that clearly. It seems like until 70 AH, the rulers of the land there, they did not care about Muhammad, the person called Muhammad. They don't mention about him. Neither do they care about the identity or the role of being his successor. These things weren't even in their minds. That's precisely my point. But today, Islam is about those very important things. What are the Muslims awaiting to see in the future, in the end times? What do you think they are waiting to see?
They are waiting to see the resurrection of Jesus.
Well, eventually, yes, but eventually, what else? They are waiting for the caliphate. That's exactly what they are waiting for. That is the most important thing today. My problem is, how come for the first 70 years after Hijrah, people did not even think about being a caliph? People did not even care about the person called Muhammad. But today, the entire focus is on those two things, Muhammad and his successor, the caliph. Do you see my problem? And this is where my point simply is, today's Islam is a fabrication. Today's Islam is not historically valid. Today's Islam, I just of course read to you one epigraph, one inscription, but we find evidence after evidence after evidence. Through God's grace, I am a Christian by the way, through God's grace, planning to bring out. Now it's inscription. In the subsequent weeks, more and more evidence I'm planning to bring out. What you find is, time and time again, it seems like in the early Islamic heartlands, no one cared about Muhammad, neither did they care about Caliph. That's, well, I'm not, no, my dear friend.
I'm not a historian, I don't have any details.
Okay, this is where my point simply is this.
And I feel that's fabricated.
Well, this is, my dear friend, do you see what happened just now? What is your name?
I don't need to tell
But,
you.
okay, that's fine. But do you see what happened just now?
Yeah.
For some reason, because of some reason in your background, for some reason, you might not even have read this properly. You might not even take a note of the heading here properly, yet you are inclined to say this is a fabrication. Do you know why that is? No, the article she says is a fabrication. Do you know why that is? Do you see the problem? What's that?
She said it's a fabrication, but she don't know why it's a fabrication.
Well, exactly the point. How can you, for the sake of religion, how can you, without even knowing, be inclined to call something a fabrication before exploring it? Does the religion force you to take such a decision? If so, let me clearly tell you that religion isn't doing you good. I am a Christian. My Jesus Christ doesn't force me to believe in anything. He wants me to consider evidence after evidence after evidence. He gives me a free choice. He doesn't put a sword behind my neck. He doesn't compel me in any manner, shape or form.
I think you should be speaking to somebody who knows more about history than I.
But my dear friend, my dear friend, one second. My dear friend, I am speaking to you not because I think you know more or less or whatever. Those things are irrelevant. The reason I am speaking to you is because you are a human being, precious before God. God is willing to explain things to any and every human being. He doesn't have a hierarchy in mind and says only these people I'm going to reveal myself to. And so to you, my dear friend, to you, the commendation I have as a Christian is my Lord Jesus Christ is available for exploration, for research, for you also. You don't have to depend on some great guy saying something somewhere.
I'll tell you one thing, as Muslims, it's not that we don't believe in Jesus, we definitely believe in Jesus. It's just one basic, I'd say one major basic difference. You call him Son of God, whereas we believe he was a messenger.
But do you see the problem? Do you see the problem? Again, what I care about, what I do not care about is belief statements. I'm not here, I'm not interested in asking, what do you believe in, what do you believe in? Okay, fine, let's go away and so on. No, I'm not. What I care about really is why. Why do you believe in what you believe in? In other words, my focus is on the rationale. Do you have a sensible belief? Have you followed evidence? And are you being led by evidence? That's what I care about. And so my point is, you saying you believe in Jesus is immaterial to me when you don't know Jesus. Have you explored the life of Jesus Christ? Have you read about him? Where? This is what I'm talking about. May I please comment to you? Please get a copy of the Bible. Unfortunately, I don't have a spare copy at the moment, but please.
I wouldn't believe in the Bible because, as far as I'm concerned, the Bible was written by the different apostles, right?
Who?
John and whatever. And it's their words which were put in there. Whereas the Quran is word by word what Allah has told the prophet. The prophet, although he couldn't read and write, he memorized it, he gave it to the transcribers, and they put it down in word.
My dear friend, 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 how are you, brother? Okay. What I have been speaking to you about so far, you know, they say the greatest miracle is that Muhammad couldn't read and write, yet he contributed to the Quran. I think Muhammad did an even greater miracle. Do you know what that is? Any idea? He did not even exist in the way Islamic tradition says he existed. Yet he has done all the things he has done today. That's precisely his greatest miracle. How can a man not even exist? And that is where I went back to archaeological artifacts for 70 years. No. Research article was written by a Jew, but he quotes, please come here. Please come here. Please come. Okay, there we go. What can I say? I am pointing. So, do you have any bias against the Jews? Can any Jew tell the truth or not? Or do you think all Jews lie? So clearly, that is not what you think. At least that's not your confession in public. But you, what is that? But you have just said this is not true. You wouldn't believe in this because it is written by a Jew. How sad it is. If you say because it is written by a Jew, it is untrustworthy, may I please comment to you that is one of the worst anti-Semitic comment I've heard. Can you believe this?